Good evening, everyone. My name is Becky Thornhill, which I'm sure most of you know me or you wouldn't be tuned in. I am head of the Gators ministry at Church of Redeemer in Sarasota, Florida. I had someone ask me yesterday, it was a strange phone call, and they could not believe that I have another connection to Church of the Redeemer. And that big connection is that your new priest in charge, Father Charleston Wilson, is my only child, and I am his mother. So there is a big connection at Church of the Redeemer. I want to thank Father Chris for asking me to talk tonight. I feel honored. And this is a ministry that is so dear to my heart. And I'm so proud that it is thriving and is a very integral part of Church of Redeemer. I want to tell you a little something funny to start off, and I always try to tell something funny, kind of like the priests do when they're preaching. My first experience with a live camera actually happened years ago when I was in Linden, Alabama. That's where I'm originally from, in case you missed the southern accent. I was in charge of the Linden, Alabama Merchants Association for 12 years. I owned a shop in downtown Linden, which was a thriving place at that time. And we had all gotten together. I was made chairman. We had gotten together and decided to do a fall festival for the city. Our job was to get people in to shop, come in and extend our hours at our stores. We were going to have vendors come to town. We were going to have live entertainment. So my job was to really promote it. Somebody had a wise idea that I should go over to Meridian, Mississippi, which was only an hour from Linden, and go on live television for promotion purposes. So my business partner and I decided we'd go, and she said, well, I'll go, but you got to talk. I said, fine, I'll talk. So I went. But the weird thing is we decided to dress in pumpkin outfits. We had the pumpkin hat and the pumpkin suits, and we were on live television, and we were going great. She said nothing. I was doing the talking, and the announcer was winding it down, and he looked at me and he said, tell us, Becky, where's Linden? And it just stumped me. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't think of anything, and I looked and I said, get a map. And they cut and went to commercial, and the whole entire television studio just was dying laughing. Of course, when I got back to Linden, it was hard for me to live down because everybody would come up to me and say, did you get a map? Where's Linden? So anyway, that's my history in being in front of a camera. The big question that I was asked tonight is, why did I start this group? Well, in order for me to tell you that, I have to go back a little bit in the history of my life. I won't go back far because we'd be here till midnight. But anyway, as some of you know, I was living in Linden and lived there 57 years. I was a staunch member of the Linden Presbyterian Church, of which my family helped start and helped build the church, and I was brought up in the church and was very active. I've always tried to be active in it. I was teaching a monthly Bible study for women in our church, and you will love this. We only had about 14 or 15 members, but we were faithful, and we all got together once a month, and I taught a Bible study, and I enjoyed it. I also played the piano for all the services at our church. I am far from Ann Moe, trust me. Well, I was living there and enjoying life. I was married to Charleston's father for a long time, for 22 and a half years, and he and I divorced. And then I remarried, and I married another guy, and he and I were married for 13 and a half years. Well, not many people know this. I don't make it personal information or personal knowledge, but in 2013, he was younger than me, and he dropped dead in my bedroom of a massive heart attack. And needless to say, I was overcome with grief. This was something I was not expecting, and it totally threw my life for a loop. So I can truly say you will see this in the ministry. We minister to divorced people and widows, and I am both, so I can relate. But anyway, I went through some tremendous grief, horrible grief. I really think I was in shock for a while, and I was just not doing well. So I went to a grief counselor, and she just happened to be in a town about 30 minutes from my home in Linden, and it was she was located in the only Episcopal church in my county. And I really think that's where God planted the seed, putting me in the Episcopal church. And I went, and she was phenomenal. My sister-in-law, bless her heart, helped me locate this lovely lady, and she was a Christian counselor. So about this time, Charleston was becoming ordained here at Redeemer. I was at his ordination. My husband had been dead 3 weeks. I don't remember much about the ordination. I think I was still in shock. But I was coming back and forth visiting him. And Charleston, I think, saw that I needed a big purpose in my life that I wasn't getting in Linden. There just wasn't much for me to do. So he started talking to me, and my dear friend in Winter Park started talking to me. You need to move. You need to move. I need to get you down here with people where you can do things. And I mean, I was so hesitant. But as I was coming back and forth, I was going to church at Redeemer, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I couldn't believe the music. I couldn't believe the people. I couldn't believe the liturgies. Everything was just phenomenal. I felt like this is where I need to take my place. So I took a big leap of faith, and I left all familiarity in Linden, Alabama, leaving friends that I've had for years, and moved. Sold everything I had and came here. Well, Charleston designed the house that I'm living in, and he and I worked on it for a while, and I lived down in Gulfgate in a rental for my first months when I came. And then I finally got to move in this home, which I'm so proud of. And it's so lovely having my family is one street over, and my grandchildren can come see me. Well, Charleston and I were riding around. Y'all are thinking, God, is she ever going to get to the point? Charleston and I were riding somewhere one night, and I said, Charleston, I love Redeemer. And I said, I notice you have men's ministries, you have women's ministries, you have children's ministries, music ministries, book club, blah, da, 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 da. I said, what do you have for singles here? And he looked at me and he said, nothing. And I said, wheels start turning. And as they start turning, I think this is my chance to do something. And I feel the call to lead this singles ministry. So I went to Father Fred. And I asked Father Fred, I said, Father Fred, could you please help me or give me permission to start a singles ministry? And he said, I think it would be a wonderful idea. So he and Charleston were sitting in their office, and Angela Ward so kindly ran me a list of all the singles' names on paper so I could have the list. So I prayed over that list for several months as I started setting up what I wanted to do. And Father Fred so graciously chose people and appointed them to be on my leadership team because I didn't know many people. And the people he chose were the perfect ones. Nobody refused him. Nobody refuses Father Fred. So we sent letters out, and I was amazed. On April the 29th, 2016, this house was packed with singles from Redeemers wanting to know what this ministry was all about. Well, here comes another question that's been asked me. How did I come up with the name, the Gators? And it's really weird, but this is how it came out. My daughter-in-law, Malaysia, and I were sitting on the lanai one night before we had everybody here for the first meeting, and we were talking and trying to come up with a name. And she'd say something, and I'd say something, and we just couldn't find the click that we needed. So I started thinking, and I walked back in the kitchen, and it hit me. I knew exactly what I wanted to call it. Because when I was trying to make my decision to move down here, One of the things that kept me from wanting to move was my fear of alligators. I love watching them, and I've always been mesmerized by them, but I was fearful of them. And I had, at the time, 5 Scottish Terriers that I was bringing with me. And I thought, I can't go down there. I'm not going down there and take my dogs down there and let them be eaten up by alligators, because everything I read said they were everywhere in South Florida. And I had visions of them just being on every street corner. So anyway, of course, I found out this wasn't true. And what's even more funny, the largest alligator on record was killed less than 40 miles from my house in Alabama. But anyway, what is so weird, it popped in my head, gators. Gators. And that's how the name got started. I said, I'm going to use the name Gators. And it's an acronym for Gathering Adults to Redeemer Singles. And I even found our first logo. And this was done by Jackie Bodecker. And we used this on our invitation. And I love the alligator that she puts on there. He doesn't look mean at all. Now, a lot of the people in the church when I first did it said, why are you doing the Gators? I don't like the name. I'm not a Florida fan. Or I'm from Miami. Or I like the Seminoles. And I said, hold it, people. It's got nothing to do with football. I'm an Auburn fan. I don't like any of them. It is strictly an acronym for Gathering Adults to Redeemer Singles. Now, enough about all of that. The next 2 things is 2 goals that I set. The 2 goals that I set that I thought were most important for our group was, number 1, spiritual growth, and number 2, Christian fellowship. So, what do? We have Bible studies during season. Season usually runs from September to April or October to April. And we have Bible studies here at my home. And it has turned out to be an unbelievable experience. The first year I taught on singles, just what singles have to endure, what we go through, what are Christian principles for singles to follow, and I think everybody enjoyed it. The next 2 years after that, we did the Andy Griffith Show. And people would say, why are y'all doing that funny show with Barney and Andy? Barney Fife. And I said, because we all kind of grew up in that era. And we loved the shows. So people would come here and watch the show on my television. We'd watch together. And then I had a book I followed. They had a book as well. And it taught Christian morals based on the episode. And I made it relate to singles. And everybody enjoyed it. We play trivia questions, and we have prizes. We have door prizes. We learn scripture. We memorize scripture. And we always have good homemade desserts afterwards. This past year, we did, hang on a second, Taste and See was the name of our book by Margaret Feinberg. And it was a culinary adventure of the different foods in the Bible. And it was phenomenal. We tasted and we saw things that Jesus ate and talked about. For example, Jesus says, I'm the bread of life. Jesus said, ye are the salt of the earth. Well, we tried probably 30 different kinds of bread. We even had some of our group members make unleavened bread for us that we tasted. We learned about the different fruits in the Bible for fruits of the Spirit. We had salts that we tasted from all over the world, which was very interesting. We even had figs and learned about the plantings of figs. We were getting ready to study olives and olive oil, and coronavirus hit, so we didn't get to finish that, and we had planned a picnic, which I'm hoping we can resume at a later date. Our next goal is Christian fellowship. Remember, I told you I had 2. One is spiritual growth, and one is Christian fellowship. We have an outstanding, great time together as singles. I had so many people when I started it tell me, I don't want to get in that, it's going to be a dating group. No, it is not a dating site. It is not. But I do tell people, if you come and you are a man and woman and you meet and you want to go out for dinner and start dating, I can't stop that. So what? But we're not a dating group. We're a group that loves being together as singles, enjoying life, learning about Jesus Christ, and visiting different things together. So Christian Fellowship, the first outing I ever did, we went to the Siesta Rum Factory and tasted rum and had a ball. We had about 25 or 30 on our first outing 4 years ago, and then we all went out for dinner afterwards and had a great time. We started doing things together and going places together. I honestly think great friendships came out of this. You know, you sit by somebody at church and, hey, how are you doing? You really don't know them. But when you start doing activities with people and seeing them over and over, you start to get to know them better. And a lot of friendships have been made, especially for me, who knew no one when I came except my children. So we have been blessed by having great attendance. And let me say this, Sarasota has a wealth and a vast, vast area to cover. And you never run out of things to do. So that's basically what I do, is I tell Charleston when he says, you don't have many miles on your car. I said, oh, yes, I do. I go all over this town. I'm always looking for something for us to do that's fun, and I think everybody will enjoy. We have toured behind the scenes at the Oslo Theater. We're the only group, to my knowledge, that got to go behind the scenes at West Coast Black Theater and saw the whole shebang. We saw the dressing rooms, the props, the sets, the costumes, everything. So interesting. We've been to plays together. We've been to restaurants together. And we have even traveled to a bakery and been to a florist and seen the work that they do. We did an ice cream social last year. I hope we could start doing that every year, and had an old-fashioned ice cream social. We've done a St. Patrick's Day party. We have done wine tastings, champagne tastings. We've done religious art tours at Ringling, and we've done garden tours at Selby. We do it all. And when coronavirus hit, we were headed to the Sarasota Honey Company. I'm hoping to do that at a later date. Just don't know how we're going to do it, but we will certainly try. We hold 2 events each year that are for singles only. The first event is usually here at my home, and it's our Christmas party. It's our annual Christmas party. This is a free event. The other events sometimes have admission charges, but they're not a great amount. Normally, I try to keep the prices down to a minimum. And then the Christmas party is always fun. That is when usually people that want to come but are a little timid will come to that, because it's always a huge crowd. This past year, we'd had vintage Christmas carol singers in costume. We also had horse and buggy rides out front for all the guests to ride in the neighborhood, and I think everybody enjoyed it. And we have just a wild amount of food and desserts, and everybody just seems to have a good time. The other event that we do annually that's just singles only, and it's also a membership drive for us, is our anniversary party. This would have been our 4th anniversary party. We've done everything from a garden party, we've had a luau party, and a Mexican fiesta. This year was going to be a 50s and 60s party, and it was going to be the week after Easter. So right now my garage is full of 50s and 60s costumes and favors and party things, and I'm hoping one day we can go back and have our 4th anniversary party. Now, I have so many people come up to me during the year, especially when they read the bulletin of where we're going or what we're doing, and they actually come up to me and say, would you let me come? I can divorce or separate for one night just to come to your events. And I'm saying, no, you cannot. I refuse to be the reason for that. But I do open the Gators up 2 or 3 times a year so that married people can come to our things and our events. We love having you. My best friends here are married. I have great married friends and I have wonderful single friends. But I will say that the 2 events that come to my mind that I believe the married couples really enjoy are the Halloween party that we do every year. It's usually at a different venue, and it's the costume contest. And it is so much fun for people our age and older to put on a costume, and we have the clergy come and judge who has the most authentic and best costume. And the prizes we give away are pretty nice. So everybody enjoys going to that party, and we have a big dinner, and it's fun. And the other party, I won't say it's a party, it's an event that we do that's open to the whole parish, marrieds and singles, is our annual Thanksgiving dinner. It is held at the church. It is a catered, traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and we try to honor a single person that has contributed or had a wonderful life and has done a lot for the church. And we have chosen, to me, some of the top people in the parish for giving and what they do. Hold on one more second. My allergies are cutting up. All right. The first year we did this, we chose the one and only Ann Moe to be our speaker. Annie could not have been any better. She's been at Redeemer way over 40-something years as our musical director, and she was phenomenal. The second year we had Dr. Pat Fitzgerald. Dr. Pat did a great job. He recently just got off of our vestry, and at that time he was head of the trauma unit for Sarasota Memorial Hospital. The third person we had was Renee Hammond, who has had a great life and is so philanthropical, and we're so grateful for everything she does for us. And then this past year, for our 4th recipient at Thanksgiving, we honored a person that's near and dear to my heart that had a terrible accident last week. She had a terrific fall. But she's doing well, and I have talked with her, and that would be Patty Sullivan. And Patty, we love you, and we're all praying for you and for your healing. So I don't know how we'll do Thanksgiving this year. God willing, as we say in the South, if the creeks don't rise, we will certainly try to do it again because it is well received by everybody in the parish. People look forward to it. And let me say this, it's always the week before Thanksgiving week, and it really helps a lot of our singles out because that's the only Thanksgiving meal they have. They don't have family here. So they really enjoy it. We put cards on the table, and parishioners sign them, and all those cards go to our shut-ins, and they're Thanksgiving cards, and it means so much to our shut-ins, and they appreciate it on our Thanksgiving dinner. Now, when we started this, Charleston came up to me and he said, now, Mom, you can't do all fun and games and parties. You got to do something charitable. So we came up with something charitable that we contribute to. There's several things. First off, in September, thanks to Melissa Dunlap and my friend Marcia Devitt, they put us on to the Florida Center Early Childhood Center. And every September, once school gets started, we go to the Florida Center with these little preschool children, and most of them are foster children. And the Gators go, and we read to the children, and we do crafts with them for about 2 or 3 hours. And last year they brought a TV crew, and I almost freaked out, but I didn't have to say anything, so I was okay. But anyway, we go and read to them, and it is the most rewarding experience. I don't know if you know this, but we singles are all alone, and we tend to focus a lot on ourselves. So it is a great opportunity for us to get out and give back to people, especially children that need it. When we finish reading, we always have the snow cone truck come by, And the snow cone truck gives snow cones to all the workers as well as all the children. And if you could see the smiles on those children's faces, it is absolutely a fabulous blessing to us. We also sponsor Snow Cone Truck again. We're big in the Snow Cone Truck. We sponsor the Day for Hope snow cones for all the workers and for all the children that are going through there to receive supplies to start back to school, as well as their parents. We do the snow cones for Bible school at Church of the Redeemer. Jackie Bodecker helps me coordinate it, and whoever's in charge of Bible school. And it's always the last day of Bible school on the Friday. It kind of is the biggie for Bible school to end. So those are the things that the Gators do. People ask me what I do. Now, I want to say a few other things and then I'll be quiet. I know you're ready to go eat your dinner, not listen to me all night. But two ministries have formed out of the Gators. One ministry that is near and dear to me is our Christian counseling that we have now at Redeemer. We are so blessed to have partnered with the Samaritan Counseling Center, and we have a Christian counselor on campus at Church of the Redeemer, and we are so blessed for that. Sometimes counseling helps. I am a firm believer in it, not just for singles, for marriage, for anybody. And isn't it nice to have someone that we can go see and talk to that is a Christian and that can help guide us and lead us when life throws us curves. The other thing that is recently formed out of the Gators ministry, I believe it stems from the Gators, is our Widows and Widowers Mite. Father Chris and I work together closely with this, and we try to come up with 3 or 4 things during the year so that we can have good speakers and good conferences so that we can minister to our widows and widowers. We were supposed to have a great speaker from Dallas, and that happened the week of coronavirus. And I have a stack of books in my guest bedroom right now, but maybe we can get him back. We may have to do it another way, maybe Zoom, or maybe mail the books to him and let him sign them and mail them back. But we will come up with something so that we can keep this ministry going, because it's very important. It is nothing better to actually see people that come so bereaved and so brokenhearted to our Widow and Widow's Mite. And then all of a sudden, we invite them to a Gators outing. And they come and they start making friends and start getting another life. And they start smiling again. The tears turn into smiles. That to me is probably one of my greatest blessings that ministry has done. It has gotten people back in the world again and functioning. And I certainly can relate. People are asking me, what are we doing now? What am I doing now during coronavirus since we can't get together? Each week, I write a devotional, and my dear friend Susie Terrace, who does a tremendous job at the church, emails it to over 400 singles at the Church of Redeemer. I'm doing it every week. And I try to write something that I think will help them as a single get through the week and help us look at our own lives and see what we need to work on and what we can do to help and what we need to pray about. So that's one thing we do. Another thing we have done during this time, 42 of you singles, and I gratefully appreciate it, mailed out cards and letters to our shut-ins who are in nursing homes and retirement facilities. They are not allowed any guests. No one can step foot on their property during the coronavirus, and they can accept mail. So we sent cards, and I believe some of them are continuing to do it, so they can have some form of communication from parishioners. I think that's so important. There is something I am working on at the moment. Right before this virus hit, my leadership team, who I will mention in a minute, I'm not going to leave you people out. Y'all are very helpful to me. We had all agreed that we wanted to see a Redeemer Gators Sunday school class start. So that's what I'm working on right now. and I'm trying my best to get it off the ground. We already have the material, and my leadership team agreed that they would take turns teaching it every Sunday, so it would be a rotating teaching type situation. Let me certainly tell you who is on my team that helps me. Of course, last but not least, we have 2 charter members that have been on it since it started besides myself, and that's Harold Freeman and Belinda Cochran. The others that are on it are Charlotte Smith, Callie Lampton, Darlene Abney, and Lana Mullen. Don't let me forget y'all. And they're all a great team to work with. I'm so grateful for them, and I appreciate everything they do to help me. All I got to do is call them, and they'll do it. And we meet several times during the year to plan events. But I do want to say in closing that if you're single, never been married, divorced, widowed or widowed, I can't say that word, but I want to encourage you to please consider joining our group. It is a lot of fun, and we all have such a good relationship together. We care about you. We become like one big family. And I feel so thankful to all of you parishioners for being so supportive to me and to my family here at Church of the Redeemer. I can't imagine my life without you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do. God bless you. How long do I talk? Probably too long.